Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jens. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you what I witnessed in Gaza. I had indeed the privilege to work there for 3 months, over 2 deployments, and I just got out. We try to measure and quantify the suffering that Palestinians of Gaza have been facing for 262 days, and we do that with figures. The total displaced, the liters of water that they get every day, the truckloads of aid that get to cross in every week. But it doesn't matter. Those numbers, they're never near enough to meet the food, shelter, health, and other needs of a population that has lost nearly everything. Their jobs, their roofs, their clothes, access to their bank accounts, and access to privacy. I've heard and seen firsthand stories that will haunt me for the rest of my very privileged life. We really, really should not speak about living conditions there, because none of them have living conditions. What they have, if you look closely, is survival conditions, and barely. They're holding on by a thread. It's so hard to understand forced displacement sometimes. But imagine one evening receiving an evacuation order. You have 10 to 15 minutes to leave your building because it's going to be bombed. Your kids are sleeping in the room next door. You wake them up, they whine, probably. And you have to make split-second decisions to decide what to pack, what's essential. And how do you define essential? Birth certificates, IDs, baby formula. You wear your best clothes, of course, and you grab whatever cash that you have lying around. But the things that you actually love and don't want to part with, those are luxuries that you cannot take with you. It's the graduation gift. It's the photos and letters from your friends. It's souvenirs from that family vacation you took once. So you take one last look at the room and you say a permanent goodbye because you know it will be dust. This isn't a made-up story. This is a story of Russia. She's from Gaza City. I met her in Rafah. She was the mother of 2 girls. And it's a story I heard time and again by people who fled Gaza City, Jabalia, Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah, and now, of course, Rafah. And this is one of the best case scenarios, too, because a lot of people aren't even warned before the attacks happen. It was the case in a neighborhood called Nuseirat over 2 weeks ago, where hundreds of people were killed and injured during a special operation to release hostages. And I can still hear Munira. She was an English teacher before the war, and she told me since the war began, she's just been feeling endless sadness. How against bloodshed on both sides she is. There was the accountant, Hassan, who explained that all his thoughts as the bombs were dropping on his house went to his family. And then there was this 19-year-old girl called Lamis who kept repeating, "My life should begin now, but it's ending now." And all of them, I don't mention their names for obvious security reasons, but they were just trying to have a meal with whatever they had secured that day when the bombing started and lasted for 2 full hours, and tank shells and gunshots. We were working a couple of kilometers away, and the walls, the doors, the windows of our building were shaking nonstop. We didn't know what was going on exactly. We found out after. The death toll, 270, and the hundreds of people maimed for life, some 700. That's according to the Ministry of Health. The children who lost limbs that I met the next day at the nearby hospital, many of whom reminded me of my own 2 little toddlers, they were staring in the void, too shell-shocked to produce a sound or a tear. For those who survive the bombing of their neighborhood by running away on time, it's only the beginning of the nightmare. In most humanitarian responses, and I've done a few, displaced people could eventually find some sort of safety. But the past 9 months, the past few days even, have confirmed that there is no safe corner in the Gaza Strip. And in most humanitarian responses, displaced people could eventually access reliable humanitarian support, like a proper tent that meets international standards, a food parcel, clean water, a learning space for children, safe areas for women. They are, of course, among the worst affected by any conflict, let alone this one. Mental health support to help handle the trauma of war. But delivering aid in Gaza is a daily puzzle across the board. You know it all. The ongoing fighting, the public order and safety vacuum, the insufficiency of absolutely everything we need, the regular attacks on our storage facilities, the pile of administrative impediments, bad internet, weak phone networks, destroyed roads, you name it. We spend hours waiting at checkpoints, coordinating, compromising a way through. Humanitarians, internationals, yes, but Palestinians, most notably, work very hard to deliver. Long working hours, looking for creative solutions around huge challenges, and taking very serious risks. But every day, no matter how hard we try, we cannot reach everyone. And the cost of all this, of course, is on the people who struggle the most. The children, those with disabilities, the women, the elderly. I remember in my very first week in Gaza, a woman in Rafah, who must have been over 70, asked me if she could tell me a secret. So I leaned in, and she whispered in my ears, "Pampers." I don't trust my Arabic well enough, so I repeated, "Pampers?" This woman had been living without geriatric diapers for months and was hoping a humanitarian organization could secure some for her. The thing is, civilians in Gaza are not weak people. They are so far from helpless. I have seen families dig makeshift septic tanks with spoons using toilets and pipes from destroyed buildings so they could have a little bit of privacy and hygiene near their tents. You know, put some distance between themselves and their own waste. Against all the odds, dignity has a pulse in Gaza. I've seen children make kites out of food packaging so they could play somehow under the constant buzzing of the drones. Childhood has a pulse in Gaza. There are mothers using the flour and the water that they receive to bake pita bread out of dirt ovens in the sand so they can sell it and make a little money to buy something different for their kids. Entrepreneurship has a pulse in Gaza. People talk about their dreams to rebuild after the flattening of their bedrooms and their kitchens. Hope has a strong pulse in Gaza. What civilian women, children, and men need and desire above all across the Strip is a respite. They need decision makers to finally make a decisive gesture to put an end to the relentless way in which they are being knocked down after every attempt to get back up. And they need the support of the rest of the world to do that.